This week, I have made a really big decision, and it's something that I've been going back and forth on for a whole year. I can't believe it's been a year, actually, to be honest. And it's something that's escalated slowly over time. And I'm not going to go into the specifics of what it is today. I don't think any of you need to know the details. It's quite personal, and I don't want to get emotional. But I want to talk about this because so many of us go through these things where we have to make a really, really, really difficult decision. And it's kind of a decision we don't want to have to make, but we have to do it for ourselves, for our own well-being, maybe for the well-being of others, whatever your situation might be. We don't want to be having these situations where we're ruminating on something for a very long time because it's exhausting, it's draining, and it adds to our mental load. And, I talk about burnout and looking after our mental health so much because I'm so passionate about it. And yet, as someone who feels like I know a lot about that, and yet I still end up in these cycles. So I'm going to share a bit of insight into this today, again, without going into the specifics of it. But yeah, basically, I've been pondering something that's been really quite difficult for at least a year, probably longer. And what would happen is I'd hit like a breaking point, a wall, and I would get sort of very upset, very emotional, talk to my friends about it, go through it, and then I'd sort of know what I need to do, but because the decision was a difficult one to make, and because there's often hurt or pain either way when you make these difficult decisions, right? There's going to be some sort of loss. Even if something might be a net positive longer term, there's still a loss, and we don't like that, do we? So I would hit this like wall, I would make a decision, then I'd talk myself out of it. Do you know what? Maybe it wouldn't be too bad. Maybe I'll just suck it up for another month or two. And I basically kept doing that. And it happened again sort of 6 months ago, this big thing. I was like, it's a horrible decision. I don't want to have to make this decision, but I think I need to. But maybe I'll just give it a bit longer. I tried it again. And I realized that I've just been in this open loop for a very long time, to be honest. And it's not been nice. Anyway, this happened again this week. And I just finally thought, you know what? I need to listen to my own advice. I'm one of the people. One of the reasons I like to do this podcast is that I've got all these life experiences, and I've learned and studied so much, and I love to help other people with all these struggles and difficulties. But we're always really awful at listening to our own advice. And so I was like, right, I need to make the decision, and I'm going to do a podcast episode on it. And then I'm going to come back and listen to this episode when I have this happen again. Hopefully not for this situation. I'm going to act on it this time. But in the future, I'm sure this will come up again. So I want to note down my own advice to myself. Hopefully it will help some of you. So today I'm going to talk about how we make these difficult decisions, how we know we need to make them, whether you should keep going, whether you should keep pushing harder, or whether to know actually enough's enough. This isn't going to get better, and I need to make the decision, even if it's really difficult. For anybody new here, welcome to The Reset. My name is Kat Burton, and today we're going to talk about difficult decisions. I want to talk about how to know the difference between sort of whether this thing is something you can cope with, whether it's something you should keep pushing through. Maybe there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's just going to be really hard to get to that point. Or when you should know, right, that's enough. That's enough. I need to make a change. I need to act. I need to actually be decisive. And I need to stop ruminating on it and asking my friends the same question every 6 months. So let's get into the episode. And I want to start with that sort of rule, the lesson that I've alluded to already. And it's how I know I need to make a decision. And it's repetition. It's rumination. It's open loops. That's what I noticed in myself with the situation I've been going through this week. Is this is a continuous cycle. And I've done everything I can, to my knowledge, to solve the issues, to solve this particular thing, and I can't solve it. It is actually out of my control. And there's no point me trying to fight it and keep doing, because it's just, I can't fix it. I can't fix it. And it's been an open loop for so long. I've spoke to friends about it. I've spoke to my therapist about it. It's been constant. And so that's my rule set for these things. It's like, if you've been constantly looping over something, it's going to make you exhausted. It's like you're fighting a losing battle. And that's when we know we need to we need to make a change and not just keep procrastinating on it. So this week, that's what I had. I had my brain in this big old open loop going, this thing needs dealing with. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know what to do with it. There is one solution, but it's not an easy one. It's a difficult decision, but it is genuinely the right decision for me, for my world, all of that. And so, yeah, often we won't act on things though, because you know what? The difficult decision, the one that I've had to make this week that, I'm in process of fixing, it's much easier to stick with the difficult thing sometimes. We dislike change. Like our brains are wired to stick with things we know. One of my previous episodes was on Better the Devil You Know, and it applies to difficult decisions as well. I've talked about why we settle previously. Quite often we'll stick with things that aren't good for us, that don't make us happy, that actually might make us miserable, that causes these rumination and open loops. We stick with those because our brain goes, do you know what? That's a known risk. But sometimes you will get to a point where you go, do you know what? I know the known risks, and actually they're not worth it. They're not worth it. I can't continue going along in that way. And so, yeah, that's how we make the decision. That's how we know when we need to take action, do the thing. Okay. If you find you're just having, a one-off conversation about something, you know what? Maybe it's worth pushing through. Maybe it is. But if you're constantly doing what I've been doing, having that same conversation multiple times, maybe with gaps in between, and you keep coming back to it every month, every 3 months, every 6 months, every year, that unresolved thing is going to burn you out. It's going to make you absolutely exhausted carrying that around with you, right? It's very, very draining. And so, yeah, why is it difficult to make these decisions, right? We all know them. I'm sure many of you have got these decisions where you're knowing you need to make a choice, but you really don't want to. When it's a difficult decision, and I'm not talking about just like some business admin or choosing a new supplier or whether or not you should hire somebody, they could be difficult in an analytical sense, in a logical sense, but I'm talking about the emotionally heavy ones. It could be something in your home environment, right? It could be something very personal to you, which is what I've had this week. It could be something like whether or not you should break up with someone. Those kind of things where it can often feel like there's no right or wrong answer, but your intuition's probably leaning you one way or another. And yet, if it is to do the harder thing, say if it is to break up with somebody, to leave a job, to change something fundamental in your life, those things can be really hard to do because you feel like you lose a bit of your identity, right? You lose a label. You have to sort of rebuild yourself a little bit. You can question who you are. You can be worried about judgment from others. This decision I need to make, I actually spoke to some friends about it a year ago, and I felt massive judgment from them about making this decision. And yet here I am a year later going, no, I really need to do this thing and it needs to happen. We do get judged for things and it's horrible, but sometimes you need to do the thing. And it's really hard pushing against that, right? Pushing against what society might think. And that is what makes it so bloody difficult. And then if you are leaving a situation like a job or a relationship or you're changing something big in your life, you're going to have to grieve that still. Even if you don't want that thing anymore, or you need to move to the new thing, you need to grieve it. You need to feel. I've been doing that this week. I've been properly emotional. I'm trying not to be emotional on this episode, but it's really hard, but you need to process it. Don't bottle up the emotions. It's okay to make a decision, know it's the right one, but for it to still hurt, for it to still be hard. That is very much part of the human experience, right? It's how we deal with things. So it might be hard. It might hurt. But if your intuition's telling you, I need to do this thing, listen to it because you don't want to carry it around for years and years and years and then regret not making that decision. Okay. One of the things I wanted to chat about is how to know when we should stick with something, when to quit. I've talked about this in other episodes as well, but I think it's really important when it comes to these difficult decisions because quite often we will stick with it. We will stick and we will just try and ignore our intuition. We'll try and ignore our gut instinct because we know that if we do the difficult thing, it is going to hurt. There are going to be repercussions of some sort. You're sort of like, tipping everything out and upending things. But sometimes you just really have to do it. But how do you know? How do you know? Because what we don't want to do is give up too easily. Things are hard. Life is hard. Running a business is hard. Work can be hard sometimes. Family, commitments, all of that can be really, really hard. But it's the kind of hard that is worth it sometimes. And it's the kind of hard where you go, "Do you know what? This is hard, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. In 3 months, this will be better. In 6 months, it will be better. I've just got to get over this hump, this hurdle." That said, we really don't want to hold on too long. I've been there before. I've stayed in relationships for far too long, when my gut instinct was telling me 3 months in, nah, I shouldn't be here. And yet I'd be there for years. You don't want to regret holding on too long to something that wasn't right for you. There's a comic that's pretty well known. I see it a lot in the startup space and the tech space. And it's one of this like miner digging with a pickaxe in a cave for diamonds. And you can see on the comic, like he's there with the pickaxe and he's going along this tunnel, digging away. It's almost like Lemmings, actually, digging away. And he's going through and there's like a bit of the rock left. And then there's this whole room of like diamonds. And it's like, is he going to turn away? And if he turns away, he misses out on the diamonds. Like he turns away just at the point where it was just about to turn around. And it's important to know, like, right, where are you on that? Are there diamonds? Are you able to break through? If you just push through a bit longer, is it all going to be brilliant? Or are you actually mining in the wrong place? Are you digging and there's nothing? You're just going to keep digging forever, using all your energy, all your resources, and there's no reward. There's nothing. So how do you tell? How do you tell the difference? Because you don't know, right? You don't know. None of us can predict the future. If anybody can, please let me know. That would be very helpful. But yeah, for the most part, we can't predict the future. We can certainly tip the future in our favor. We can make our own luck. I don't believe in fundamental luckiness, but you make yourself quote unquote luckier by putting yourself in the right situations, by putting yourself out there, by being brave. And so if you've been digging through a tunnel and you've been ruminating on a decision, you're probably at a point where you need to make this decision. Am I keeping going? Am I turning back? But when you hit that point, usually you're exhausted. You're usually really tired, but you'll also be emotionally invested. One of the things I wanted to mention is one of my favorite books is Seth Godin's The Dip. I have talked about this numerous times before. I speak about it to probably most of my coaching clients. And it's a book I have come back to time and time and time again. I've used it when deciding if I should leave relationships. I've used it when trying to figure out, should I leave a job? Should I change career? Should I do something? And it's basically a book form of that webcomic about the guy digging the mine. And it's basically everything I'm talking about today. I'm going to pop a link to it in the description because honestly, I recommend giving it a good read. It's really short. That's one of my favorite things about it. It's great if you've got ADHD because reading long chapters is a bloody nightmare. It's really, really short. It's fantastic. Probably maybe like an hour and a half to 2 hours to read it if you can get in your zone. The audio book is brilliant as well. And that's about an hour and a half. Like if I'm facing a big decision, I will usually put that book on. And I don't know how many times I use the audiobook version, but I don't know how many times I've listened to it. It's got me out of so many ruts. But I want to basically paraphrase it because, again, it's very relevant to this podcast episode and hopefully it inspires me to go and read it because, honestly, he's one of my favorite authors. But in The Dip, Seth's argument is basically that most worthwhile things, most of the important stuff in life will have a really, really difficult middle bit, right? That's what he calls the dip. The title of the book. And the people who win, the people who succeed are the ones who push through the dip rather than quitting it. You see it in everything, right? You start learning something and you're like, yeah, this is really, really fun. Then you sort of stagnate a bit. It's like, oh, I'm not learning as much or I'm not enjoying it as much. But if you keep pushing through, you become the expert. It's the same for something like this podcast where I put this on like YouTube. I put it on all the audio channels as well. And it's like, it can get good sometimes. And sometimes the graph goes up and it's brilliant. And you're like, yay. And then there's a dip. And for some reason, a couple of episodes might not resonate with as many people. My thing is always, as long as it resonates with one person, helps them, that's a success to me. But you can really struggle. And for a lot of people, you know, they they will see the analytics plateau and they hit sort of this dip, or they might get less viewers, or some subscribers might leave. And you hit this point of like, oh, it's not as rewarding right now. I'm struggling. I'm not getting as much dopamine. And that is what Seth would call the dip. If you keep pushing through, if you keep sticking with it, if you know that you just got to keep at it and eventually it'll come back up, that's when you know it's a dip. That's when you know it is worth keeping with it. The important thing is, as much as he talks about this, the dip and pushing through and knowing that things will get better if you really stick with it, it's really, really, really important to know that not everything is a dip. Not everything is a dip. And that's probably one of the most important things from it. It's like, yes, some things you can push through, but some things are just a dead end. And when people say you should never quit, that's nonsense. Quit. Fail fast, pivot, change the thing if you can see it. And that's the thing. It's that you've got to look at it and go, if I stick with this for another 3 months, 6 months, will it get better? Or is it a dead end? Is it a dead end where you go, now this is dead in the water, or this thing won't improve, or I've done everything I can, I just can't fix it. And for me, that's where I am with the situation I've been in this week. It's, you know what, I've tried. I've gone through multiple dips, and those dips have been rock bottom with this decision that I've been putting off. And I've realized it's a dead end. I can't fix it. I can't solve it. And it's really sad that I can't solve it. I'm not going to get emotional. Definitely not going to get emotional. It's not on the podcast. But you just have to notice it sometimes to be like, do you know what? I can't solve it. It is a dead end, as I could call it. So yeah, the book has been really helpful for me. And it's all about being honest with yourself. It's all about being honest with yourself. Sometimes we think we can solve everything, but sometimes you just can't solve it. Sometimes it's impossible. And those are your dead ends. That's when there are no diamonds at the end of the mine. And those are the things that are sad. They're really difficult. Like, I've cried a bunch this week. I've let myself go through the grieving process, which, you know, is very important for our mental health. I mean, British stiff upper lip, like telling you shouldn't cry. I've got friends who cry to me and they apologize. I'm like, why are you apologizing? It's good for your mental health to cry, to process, to feel things. Bottling it up is what leads to us needing a lot of therapy. You know, I've been there. I bottled up so much through my childhood, my teens and my adult life. And it's taken a lot of therapy to sort of get things level. And now I let myself feel it. I let myself grieve it. It's okay. You can't fix everything. Sometimes you do just need to make a difficult decision and go, do you know what? I know I can't fix it. And it's not going to get better. And it's just going to make my mental health or my situation worse. That's your answer. So if any of this is feeling a bit familiar, regardless of your situation, maybe it's a work thing, maybe it's a home thing, maybe it's a relationship, whatever it might be, I want to give you some coaching style questions, as I will often do in these episodes, the things that have helped me when I need to analyze it. So feel free to ignore these. Feel free to add them to your journaling prompts. Just take a minute if this is resonating with you, and hopefully it'll help. So the first one is, I want you to think about, is there something that you have talked to people about? It could be different people, could be the same ones, more than once over a fairly long stretch of time. You know, if you've talked to someone about something for the last week or two, that's probably just a current thing you're going through. But if you're now talking to friends or family, or you've recently talked to them about a problem, and you know you've already talked to them about this 3 months, 6 months, a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever that might be for you, what is that thing? Note it down. You've probably already got it in your head already, but just what is it? Be honest with yourself about how often you've been doing that. The second question I want to ask you is, I want you to imagine yourself a year from now having made the difficult decision, whatever this difficult thing you might be thinking about. If you made the difficult decision that probably your intuition is telling you should do, but you're scared, or you're going to get hurt doing it, or it's going to give you some short-term extra stress or issues. Think about, if you made that decision, how your life would look in a year's time. And think about how it would look a year from now if you didn't make that decision, if you just carried on as normal. Think about those two different versions of you. Which life feels better? Which one feels a bit more peaceful, a bit more happy, a little bit less mental load? Because that's the thing we want to do, is right? It's like reducing mental load. We're going to not have as much burnout if we do that. We're going to be happier. We're going to have more energy to do the things we love, the things we enjoy. So think about those two versions of you. Which one would be happier? Question number 3 is, is this difficult situation, is it hard because it's the dip, which we've talked about? Is it a dip that's worth pushing through? Or is it hard because you actually already know the answer? You already know the answer, but you don't want to acknowledge it. You don't want to sit with that feeling because, God, it's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. We know it's going to hurt. We know it's going to be difficult. And you don't want to have that feeling. What is the hard feeling? Because if it's the latter type where it's hard because I know if I make this decision, it's going to hurt in the short term, but it'll be better long term. That's kind of giving you your answer on what you should do. And the final question that I want to ask is, if you were speaking to a close friend and they came to you with this, what would you give them in terms of advice? What would be the kind thing you would tell them? Not the nice thing, not that, they just want to hear this, so I'm going to tell them this. Maybe your friend, if they were coming to you with this, they might not want tons of advice on the thing because, you've already thought about it. You've already tried every single possible thing. What would you want them to say? In my case, I've been really lucky. I've had, as I say, people in the past who've judged me for needing to make this decision a year ago, and it made me back out of it. But I've spoken to some of my close friends over the last week about this one, and they've been really supportive. And some of them have actually been in the exact same situation, and they know how hard it is, and they can talk through it with me. And it's been lovely. And that's how you've got your people, right? The people who will support you. They'll call you on your bullshit when needed, but they will support you, and they know when to go, no, she's made a decision. She knows it's the right thing for her. So those are your questions that will hopefully help you, if you've got something in your mind. But yeah, if you're really not sure where to start with this, just an easy first little step, the first little action, which will only take you a minute or two, if that, is just to think about something you've been ruminating on, thinking of something you've been avoiding, making a decision about, and maybe grab a pen and paper and write down every time you've talked to someone about it, and try and remember all those times. Try and remember all the times you've thought about it, and just write them down and look at the pattern. And maybe you don't have to do anything with it today. Maybe you just need to acknowledge it and go, there's a thing here. I need to spend some time with this, through journaling, through going for a walk and thinking about it, through maybe talking to friends. But there's clearly, if you've got something you've been coming back to, there's something that's stealing your mental energy. Just figure out what the pattern is, figure out what the open loop is that's taking your mental bandwidth. And yeah, maybe if it keeps coming back regularly, you might need to do the difficult thing and be decisive, make a decision. Could be that you make a decision to postpone a decision for 6 months. That's also very valid. But sometimes you need to make the difficult one. And that difficult decision, if you know you need to make it, that is going to stay really, really bloody difficult right up until the moment you make the decision. For me this week, looping over this thing again and again, and it was really painful, really, really sad. But it's a decision that I know I need to make. And as soon as I made the decision, I instantly was like, no, it's the right thing. It's the right thing. And then I was able to grieve it. I was able to feel the emotions. And what's interesting is I thought I would feel guilty about making a decision, but because I know I've tried everything and I've done my best, and I know it will be the best for just all parties involved, it's the right thing to do. And there's sort of a relief that comes with that. Once you make that decision, there's a relief because you close the loop. It's no longer there. You've made the decision. Frees up some headspace. It lets you process it. And then hopefully you'll get some energy back. So that's everything for today. If this one has resonated with you, I honestly wish you all the best with making the decision. It's not easy. I know it's bloody difficult. But just know you're not alone. If you're struggling with something and you need to make that really, really tough decision, definitely go read Seth Godin's book, The Dip. If you're struggling, if you need a bit more than what I can give you in this short podcast, definitely go read that. I'm going to pop a link in the description. If it has helped you at all, please do leave me a wee comment. I do reply to them. I love having conversations with you in the comments. So please do leave me a comment. And if you want to just send me a message, whether it's a request for a topic, or if there's something that's resonated with you and you don't want to say it publicly in a comment, feel free to drop me a message. You can do so at golfboss.co.uk/podcast. As always, very important for me to say, I am not a licensed therapist, doctor, accountant, lawyer, anything like that. I am just somebody who spent an entire year ruminating on a really, really difficult decision. I've put it off, I've postponed it, and I've finally made that decision this week. And I thought, you know what? I need to actually listen to my own advice. Thank you for listening. I hope that is helpful for at least one of you, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.